Welcome back to TV Toastmasters. My name is Thuy Tran and I'm your host today. Our segment is titled Hearts of Our Community. It's all about amazing folks doing amazing things, affecting lives right here in our community. Today we have Andrea Paluso, and she is with an organization called Family Forward. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad you're here. I think our viewer is going to learn a lot about your organization. I myself have been a fan of yours and of Family Forward for many years, even before I picked up the phone and called and got engaged.
You did, yeah.
I invited you today because it's 2020. It's going to be very political this year, but I feel that politics is local. And Family Forward has been so very local, doing work to help the community. So I want our viewers to learn more about the organization, and if they are so inspired, maybe they'll be like me and roll up their sleeve and get involved and feel empowered.
Yes, yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how Family Forward got started?
Yeah, well, Family Forward started about 12 years ago or so. It was a group of local moms that got together. I now have an almost 13 and almost 15-year-olds, so they're teenagers that have grown up alongside this organization over time. And most of us at that time were new parents, and we were really struggling ourselves with how to stay in a job and raise our kids at the same time. And I think really felt like maybe things were going to be a little bit different in this kind of day and age, that we were going to have access to kind of more choices about how to structure our lives around work and family. And discovered really quickly that that wasn't true, and that has huge impacts on parents, but especially on mothers. So we started to sit down to talk about why. And you know, the thing that we came to was really just that care and caregiving in our society right now is really not valued, even though it's really important work. The work that we do to raise the next generation, the work that we do to care for our elders, to care for people who need it in our community in a variety of different ways, is really important, and our society doesn't function very well without it. But it's usually done totally invisibly. It's done in our homes. We're sort of taught not to even talk about it really out in the world or in our workplaces, even though it's critical and it's fairly universal that all of us are going to provide care or need care at some point in our lives. And that has a pretty deep history in this country. The reason why care work is so undervalued really comes from a deep history of institutional racism and sexism and classism in our country. That means that, you know, it is mostly women of color who work in paid care fields like child care and home care and things like that, and those are some of the lowest paying jobs in our community, even though they're really important. And then the work that women mostly do in homes caring for families is unpaid altogether. And it also leads to real challenges with being able to keep a job that pays you. And so that leads to larger income inequalities and wage gaps and wealth gaps and lower retirement savings and a variety of different things that become really challenging and get worse as you get older.
Well, Family Forward is tackling huge issues. I remember when I first started my business and I had my children, they're about the same age as you. I had to rearrange my whole life in order to do what I was trained to do or went to school to do, and yet still be a good mom and be with my children.
It's harder than it should be.
Yes. So it took 12 years for the organization to start. You said 3 women?
Yeah, it was a larger group of women, and they were all moms. And the first thing that we started on 12 years ago was working on a paid family and medical leave campaign, actually, because there had been a bill in the legislature back in 2007 and then 2009 for a really small, modest program that actually didn't cover a lot of people, and it wasn't very much time off, and it was very little wage replacement. It was a bill that had been working its way through the legislative process. And there hadn't been, as far as we could tell, a lot of community engagement around the bill. And so we started to engage more parents and caregivers to really start talking about it.
How were you received? These moms walking down the
About like that. About like you'd expect. There was definitely a lot of like, oh, these moms, like who are they? Who do they think they are? So we had some legislators who were very kind and very supportive and really teaching us and mentoring us in the process, and who opened their doors to us and to kind of wanting to talk to people who would really be directly impacted by the thing that was happening. And I think we're appreciative about our efforts to bring more people into the process. But there were also a lot of legislators that were just like very dismissive. You know, that
did they not have family? Did they not have children?
They did, and yet they were like, you know, I don't think that because we're talking about a kind of social insurance thing. Everyone pays into something, and then people can have access to paid time off from work for family or medical reasons. And they were definitely like, you know, we heard from a lot of legislators, actually, mostly men, who would say, you know, these women who need this thing should have just planned better, married someone different, had a different job, done something different so that they wouldn't need this. And, you know, it's taken us time. We were finally this last year able to pass a really comprehensive paid family and medical leave policy. And, you know, part of that was us really talking to folks about the fact that this is universal. Like every one of us is going to be born and get sick and die. That is what the human condition is, you know? So these aren't one-off events that happen to just some people. They're things that happen to every single one of us. And we need to have a way to plan for them and to take care of each other through these things.
Do you think fighting for these issues not only impact us, but how will it impact our children?
Yeah, I think it has huge impacts on our children. I hope that it has impacts on them when we win these things right away and they're able to have access to their parents and the caregiving that they deserve. But also I hope that it means that they'll get to become parents or become caregivers, become part of families in the future, where these things are things that we do as a matter of course. They're things that are valued, they're things that are seen. You know, the work of taking care of each other is really important. And I want them to grow up in a world where that's seen and valued and there's time for it. So I hope it has that impact. I hope also that, you know, we know that passing these kinds of laws that make it possible for you to raise a family and provide for a family at the same time really disproportionately impact women. So I have a son and a daughter, and I hope that they're growing up into a world where they'll have more equal rights and they'll have more equal access to opportunity and more equal access to economic security. And so I think these are the kinds of things that help to lead to that.
Well, voting will be happening quite a bit this year.
Yep.
And many people who receive their ballot and vote, afterwards they may feel unsatisfied.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I could have done more. Could you share with us the activism, the engagement that happened along the way to get a bill like the Paid Family and Medical Insurance bill passed, in order for folks to just get an idea how they can jump in before that ballot reached their house and vote, but they can influence so much. They can even influence which candidates are elected.
Yeah, yes. That's right. Yeah, we spend a lot of our time organizing mothers and caregivers to get more involved into all of these processes, you know, to get more involved in shaping what we need and having conversations about that. We spend a lot of time really kind of at the beginning of the time that I think people start to engage with this stuff, talking about how this isn't a personal problem. It's really not that I've made a bunch of bad choices or other people have made individual bad choices.
Because life happens,
Life
right?
happens, and also it's really that like we don't have the systems we need to support our families. You know, we have a long history of ignoring these things and sort of letting this work happen kind of invisibly and on the backs of women. And if that's going to change, then we have to start talking about the ways that we're struggling and be honest about those things, that it isn't, you know, just me who's struggling to find affordable, high-quality childcare for my kids. It's actually every family that's struggling to find that. That's not because we're all making bad choices. It's because we have no childcare system. And that's the thing that we need to change. So we work with a lot of, directly with a lot of women, mothers, and caregivers who are really impacted by this stuff. And we talk about that and kind of the history of that and where that comes from and what it would look like for us to have something different. Because I think it's when you start to kind of see that it's bigger than you, that you can really start to develop a real political imagination about what it could look like, kind of at a systems level. So then we talk about that, and we talk about the kinds of laws and like programs and policies that would need to exist for like a vision that we have to come true. And then we start to think about, okay, so that would require us having more people in the legislature who understood this problem. Let's go talk to them. Then that would require having the right people in the legislature who believe that these are problems and will act on them. Let's go figure out which candidates we want to support for office and vote for them. So we really try to build, we like to call it kind of a year-round civic engagement process and model. Where we're engaged in a legislative session and advocating for the things that we need and really trying to get good and comprehensive laws
So do
passed.
those people in Salem, the capital, really listen?
They do. They do. Yeah, they do. I think they're very responsive to hearing from people in the communities that they represent. And so, you know, if we are going with moms from their local community to meet with them, they do listen to those voices. And over time, we build up more and more people who are speaking on behalf of the issue, and it becomes something that like they want to deal with because they can see that it's a really pervasive problem. I think we're fortunate in Oregon that our community is still relatively small, and you can still really meet with and talk to the people that you elected pretty easily, and they do actually listen and they do care. And as you said, kind of the more local, the even easier that is, you know, at the city or the county and then the state. You know, and I think even our federal delegation is really active and responsive when they hear from people in our state. So we're lucky in that way. So then we go from that to elections and trying to build up a larger group of people who are supportive of these issues and seeing them and believe that they need to be addressed. And then, you know, we come back to a legislative session again. So there's always this kind of cycle of trying to advance this stuff over time.
Never give up. There's always another chance,
That's
right?
That's
People's
right.
minds can change, and
That's
you
right.
will move issues and policy forward.
That's right, yeah. And it does sometimes take time, but it's worth it. The win that we had on paid family leave this last year was much bigger than where we started 12 years ago.
How was our policy different than other paid family and medical leave act like Washington?
Yes, ours, the Oregon law is actually, I think, a real model for the country now. It is the most equitable and the most inclusive law in the country. We worked with a lot of different coalition partners, different organizations representing business and advocating for children and seniors and labor unions and a variety of different civil rights and community, like kind of culturally specific organizations, to shape some values, some real principles for what a policy would need to look like if it really was about including everyone. We have a long history in our country of passing laws that leave a lot of people behind. Sometimes explicitly, they'll actually say these kind of workers are carved out, like part-time workers are carved out. They're not covered by this. Sometimes not that explicitly, where it's just that the way that the law is written, there's enough sort of barrier that it's just hard to access. So if you don't have time or capacity to navigate a lot of administrative processes and things like that, then you can't access this thing, even though technically it's your right on paper. So we really thought about that, and like, what would it take to create a policy that was really accessible to the people who really need it the most? The people who are living on the lowest incomes, the people who are struggling the most with their caregiving responsibilities, who have the kind of employers that are least likely to be really friendly to this or least likely to offer it on their own. And then how would we structure a law? And out of that, we won, I think, a pretty incredible model. So people will have access to up to 12 weeks of paid time off for caring for a family member. And we defined family member very broadly. So it isn't just a parent or child, it's anyone that is your kind of chosen or blood family, because a lot of us care for people that we're not technically related to, but they're our family. And we, so you have up to 12 weeks for family leave, for medical leave for your own serious health condition, or for parental leave and bonding leave.
So that's for paid pregnancy leave for mom and dad?
For mom and dad, yeah, and they have the same amount of time for under that 12 weeks. Then we did add an additional 2 weeks of paid leave for pregnancy-related recovery, childbirth-related recovery. So if you gave birth, you'd have up to 14 paid weeks
I
per
remember
year.
for my second child, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was back in the office working.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's so short, and it's about a quarter of moms in this country. That's what they're doing, is going back to work within 2 weeks of having, they're not even healed. So you have that time to qualify. You just have to have earned $1,000 in the past year. So
low barrier to
low barrier
access.
to being able to access, yeah. And we did also cover in it, you can use the paid time for safe leave for issues related to domestic violence or sexual assault or stalking. So there are a lot of additional purposes where people might need time off work. Everyone pays in, employers and employees both contribute, the funds get pooled, and then when you have one of those qualifying reasons for leave, then you apply through the state to access your paid time, and they actually
huge,
reimburse
right?
you.
You don't have to apply to your boss or your supervisor who very much would say no because the work needs to continue.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, you apply through the state, it'll be through the employment division, and then you actually get your wage replacement from them. So your employer doesn't even need to be the one paying you while you're out because it comes from this shared insurance fund.
Then the employer can use that money of savings in the payroll and hire
use it
temporary help so that you have a job when you come back.
That's right, right. Yes, I know there are some costs for employers related to people being gone, so this helps in that way. And then you have job protection. So, if you take time during that 12 or 14 week period, then you can return to your job afterward.
Well, that saves the company that you work for a lot of money because training a new person is very costly.
That's right. That's
very
right.
Costly.
And there's a lot less turnover as a result of these we've seen in other places.
Our time's almost up, but I would like to ask you, what's the next project? Where will Family Forward be 5 years from now, or what's the current big project that you're working on?
The big new project that we're undertaking is working with a bunch of folks to start to talk about childcare. So my hope is 5 years from now we're in a place where we're really making investments in a universal childcare system. We need it. The system, there isn't really a system that exists right now. There are a couple of programs that help people who are living with really low incomes, but there's not really a plan for universal childcare beyond that. So what we have really is a kind of private tuition system where every family is paying basically private school tuition to have their kids in childcare. And that isn't working.
It's not just affordability, it's quality, right? Professional, safe childcare that you'll be working on.
Yep, exactly. So we're hoping that every kid has safe, high quality, amazing childcare that helps them to grow and have all of the great social and health and educational outcomes that they deserve, but that's offered in a variety of different settings so that parents can choose the care that's best for their family, whether that's in a child care center or care that like a relative or a grandparent or a neighbor might provide, and that they really have choices within that and they can afford all those choices because it doesn't cost very much of their income to access it, and that the women, because it's like 95% women doing childcare work, that they're paid good wages. And we need public investments to get to the place where we can make that happen because parents are already not able to afford the high cost of childcare, and childcare providers are making very low wages. And we know from other experiences in our country that the kind of way to bridge the gap there is for there to be some public investment.
It would be very sad if a child care worker have to care for other folks' children and not be able to care for her very own.
That's right, and that's happening all the time. We have child care providers who've shared that on the wages they earn, they can't even send their kids to the center where they work because they can't afford it even with like tuition benefits. So it's a problem that needs to be fixed. Our kids and our parents deserve better.
It's just not child care, but I hope that the movement you make in child care will take care of our elder too, because elder care is huge also. Our parents take care of us when we were young, right?
Yeah.
And snotty.
Yes,
and now it's their time to be taken care of.
That's
so we'll have to plan for that fight also.
That's on the horizon too. We want care across all generations to be good and accessible and affordable and high quality. And you're right, like we have an aging population of people who need a lot of care, and they deserve the dignity that comes with being able to age with dignity and have their family members around them.
So tell our viewer, if they want to roll up their sleeve in 2020 and be really grassroots and affect changes, how will they contact you and Family Forward?
Yeah, well, they can reach out to us. Our website is familyforwardaction.org, or they can write us at info@familyforward.org. And we would love to have more folks volunteering and getting involved with our different action teams and learning more about the ways they can plug into some of these policy campaigns or into elections work.
And Family Forward is just not in Portland and the big city in Gresham, but it's statewide, yes?
That's right. We're statewide. We have members all over the state, volunteers all over the state, and we have a lot of support in the kind of metropolitan area and around the Salem-Woodburn area with staff present and ready to help. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for being here and telling us all about Family Forward. I feel empowered.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being our viewers today, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. My name is Thuy Tran, and you are with Hearts of Our Community. It's about folks doing amazing things, affecting lives. Signing off.
Welcome to an opportunity to take the next step of your professional speaking journey. I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever wished you were a star in a television show or at an event where the media is interviewing bystanders and you are wanting to be picked to give your opinion of the event? Or even in the smallest sense, you're at a sports game and secretly hope that your smiling face would appear on that big jumbo screen TV? But the jumbo screen always finds the fans with the painted faces. And you think to yourself, maybe next time. Well, what if I can offer you a chance to be on TV? Would you take it? That is what I want to offer you now. I'm Dottie Love, Associate TV Producer and Director. Toastmasters International is one of the largest organizations whose mission is to help improve your speaking skills. And District 7 is expanding your opportunities to do speaking via television. We have 4 fully equipped television studios and TV Toastmaster broadcasts to over 500,000 homes, plus a YouTube channel. Who knew? We want to invite you to take advantage of using media and television, either in front or behind the scenes. Let me share a few options that you have. First, you can be a guest on a show. Highlight your business or hobby or your community interest. Anything you're passionate about. Be a featured guest. Secondly, you can train to be a host on an ongoing TV segment. We will train you for that. Third, what about creating your own talk show? We will train you for that as well and give you access to a community media studio to do just that. Or lastly, be behind the scenes, either running a camera or editing shows. You decide which avenue is best for you, and our TV Toastmasters team will help you to navigate to get the most out of your media experience. Personally, I've done them all. I started as a guest, went to hosting, up to directing my own TV show. I don't tell you this to impress you. I tell you this to impress upon you that your personal growth with Toastmasters is directly related to what you take advantage of. And I encourage you to be bold in looking for opportunities to stretch and grow. If this intrigues you, or if you have club members who you think that might be interested in this, please contact us here at TV Toastmasters. I'm Dottie Love, and you can reach me or any of us in the TV Toastmasters family at the contact information at the bottom of the screen. You can also find us on the web. Our website is 7512.toastmastersclub.org.
Hi, I'm Deb Hart. I'd just like to share with you how appreciative I am of being able to be a TV Toastmaster host. I get to share stories within the community, have people come on the show and educate the viewers, and talk about a subject that I'm very familiar with, and that's health. I encourage you to come aboard and be a part of our TV Toastmasters Host Club. It's fun. You'll have a good time.
Have a story that others need to hear? Seeking an audience for your message? Have an experience that can transform the lives of others? Practice your message and perfect its delivery in a TV studio while creating content for regional, national, and international exposure. That's right. Get seen by an ever-increasing audience. Visit TV Toastmasters.
Ken Coombs here, speaking about TV Toastmasters. As an area director, I see more value in that venue than perhaps some of you do, so I want to share that. Providing a televised voice for District 7, its clubs, and their members not only gives people a chance to come here and get a project ticked off that says speak on television, it gives contestants in an area contest or a division or a district contest at least a chance to come and practice and see what they look like. It gives people a chance to share an important message with the district, whatever that might be. So consider your next speech perhaps being on television. Not your 15 minutes of fame, but your chance to reach a broader audience.
I joined Toastmasters to improve my speaking, listening, communication, and leadership skills.
Toastmasters gave me incredible confidence.
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 Great listening skills.
Poise.
Great leadership skills.
Leadership skills.
The ability to speak in public.
Strength. A captive audience.
Quality feedback from the more experienced Toastmasters.
Toastmasters really helped me improve my listening skills.
Sales skills.
Opportunities to go to different groups and widen my whole horizon.
Toastmasters has given me a more focused me, and I'm a much better listener. Toastmasters is fulfilling.
A great place to fail your way to success.
Wonderful way to meet people. Networking.
Strength. It's addictive.
It's a club of self-improvement.
It's an experience, it's a ride that you won't forget, and you'll enjoy it every step of the way.
Toastmasters helped me land a kick-butt job. I sang at one of my table topic speeches, and people liked it and applauded.
My business is doing great, and I'm very, very grateful to Toastmasters.
It's been a great experience for me.
Thank you, Toastmasters.
Thank you, Toastmasters.
Thank you, Toastmasters, for giving me so much confidence.
Thank you, Toastmasters, for everything.